Like, subscribe, and share to Voices of Linden TV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Money Minutes with Michelle Moseley. I am so very happy to be here today presenting to you. Our primary focus right now is to help everyone with regards to your financial well-being, look over a few options as to how we can get you there, and over time to do a number of features that will hopefully broaden your knowledge as it relates to financial and your financial well-being. Before we go any further, a lot of you may have seen the very first webcast that we did. And for that webcast, I generally focused on financial well-being. Going forward, what we plan to do is to make it a bit more mainstream. We want to make sure that we are reaching the kind of audience who needs financial planning and guidance over time. And this is whether or not you're actually invested or you have investments, or you're now thinking of going that path and you have no idea how to go. So some of these materials would be very applicable to yourself, and some of them you may be just joining just to, tweak the information that you have at hand. One of the things I want to make sure that is understood, we're not going to bombard you with too much of technical information. We are the technicians as it comes to the financial planning. It's just like going to your doctor, for example. If the doctor were to tell you all of the medical terminology, they will certainly lose you. We don't want to lose you. We want to make sure that for each of our presentation, that you actually go away with something that resonates with you, resonate with your financial well-being, resonate with how you are able to move forward. So that's our plan. We're hoping that you will be encouraged to send us your questions. And at the end of this presentation, we'll have an email address and a telephone number for which you'll be able to direct those questions to. And the whole point of that is that each time we're presenting, we want to make sure that we're giving you information that is really solid and that is really something that you could relate to. So hopefully you will join us on an ongoing basis. We're planning to do this on a monthly basis, and my sincere hope is to have enough information that you will go away feeling as though you have not wasted 30 minutes of your time. Today we have with us Carol Smith. Carol is one of the financial advisors in my branch. Today it gives me great pleasure to introduce this really very brilliant lady, Carol Smith. She has been in the industry for quite some time, and she has a very focused area that she deals with, but I will let Carol tell you a bit more about that herself. Carol.
Thank you, Michelle. Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Michelle, for having me on this wonderful show. I'm really excited to be here and to tell you a bit about myself. I started as an advisor in 2004, actually under the Sun Life brand, and I've been in the industry for quite some time. I do specialize in helping my clients with a holistic approach to planning, everything to do with insurance, tax planning, estate planning, and so forth. But one of my specialties is I am a responsible investment specialist. And what does that mean? You probably say. Some people may have questions about ethical investing with regards to investing in companies that are good for the environment. Or sometimes you have people that maybe are interested in investing in companies that don't invest in sin stocks, things like weapons, tobacco, pornography, gambling. A lot of people may want to know that these are options that are out there. So that's one of the things that I specialize in, is helping people to align their money with their values. And it's actually much easier to do than a lot of us even realize. And these are solutions that usually are available to people all over the world, no matter where you live. There are these solutions if you just ask your financial institution if these things are available. But in a nutshell, basically, I'm just really excited to be on this show with you, Michelle, and to see how we can help everyone learn as we learn together.
And thank you very much. I'm just going to piggyback a bit more what Carol said, and this is with regards to the responsible investing. A lot of people who are religious would tend to want to have something that does not, as Carol mentioned, include those quote unquote sin products, if you will. Yeah. And so you want something that will, represent more of your religious belief. And this is a good option. And it's an option that is worldwide. It has nothing to do with whether it's Canada or, or the West Indies or in America, your values are your values wherever you live. And if you want your, your investments to kind of replicate what your beliefs are, then responsible investment is something that's really, really of interest to yourself. One of the things that we looked at and we talked a bit about is how do we get from, being financially stable. I like the word, financial well-being, because as I mentioned earlier, we're technicians in the financial world. And if you go to your doctor to be okay, it's the same manner in terms of your finances. You need someone that you can work with that could guide you. And that person, whether that person is, wherever you're living, whether it's your banker that you start with, or you have access to a financial advisor, or you want to direct your questions to us, we can always provide you guidance. If we're not able to practice in your country, then of course, we'll obviously guide you as to what are the questions you can ask a practitioner in your own country. Feel free to send us any questions that you have, regardless of where you may be living. If you can send us an email with your questions to moneyminutemm@gmail.com. And myself or Carol, we will monitor that email and we will get back to you. We'll give you some guidance. We'll be able to direct you if you do not have access to someone. We'll kind of give you that guidance as to the questions you can ask, and or we can answer the questions ourselves as it may come up. I do have questions already that has come to me from Guyana and from Trinidad with regards to some investment products that I am looking into, and that is something that I will bring to as a broader topic, so that everyone, you might be interested in seeing if you can tap into investment products that are outside of your regular country or domain, and we can, certainly see if that is extended to yourselves as well. So for example, one person was asking me with regards to treasury bills, and could they, invest in treasury bills within Canada, even though they're not living within Canada. I just want to say that the cross-border investing is so technical. It has a lot of variances, and it could vary from institution to institution. So it's something that needs a little bit more investigation, so that we can come back and give you some answers that are, that are sensible. And again, just want to encourage everyone, if you, do not feel shy about asking the questions, but if you want to keep it anonymous and you want to just send an email and say, I'm at this time, I'm not comfortable asking a question. I don't want to, sound silly or feel as though I'm being silly. You're never being silly. That's number one. But again, I do appreciate that concern. I've been there myself. Again, keep in mind, I'm not a doctor. So you will not feel silly going to your doctor. You should not. And likewise here, don't feel silly, because you know what? We all came from time when we did not know a lot, and we had to study. Both Carol and myself, we've had, over time, we've accumulated wealth of experience. Carol has been within the industry some 16 years. I've been in the industry some 24, 25 years. Within North America, that is. I've also worked within the banking world in Guyana. So there is that, I can segue easily between quite a few regions and understand what's happening in that particular region. So I do encourage you not to feel lost. Come to us with your questions. On that note, I wanted to jump in, not to any product specific, but I do want to mention a few things that we are going to kind of deep dive into over time, which I think is very important. It's critical to your financial well-being. And it's critical to what we're trying to do here. We're trying to educate our community and beyond our community as far as possible. I know a lot of people think that there's so many presentations out there. There are so many speakers on financial matters, but they're never enough, and not enough to meet each faction of the community. So for example, you'll have a presenter who is quite possibly going to resonate with someone who is really high net worth. And then you'll have someone who could meet the middleman. And then you'll have someone who's meet the person who's just starting out and doesn't have any kind of information. I want us to be very all-encompassing. But our primary goal is to meet those people who are now thinking of starting out, who does not know how to move forward. And that's our goal here, so that we can educate you to get to beyond that point that you are right now, or to jump into the pool, so to speak, and to start swimming. I want to talk to you a little bit of something that is really always in the West Indies when I was growing up. It was kind of like almost a taboo. People did not like talking about it. For everyone in the West Indies, they consider it to be a topic that was it was about death. And in particular, it's about our own death. So as much as we're not going to deep dive completely into product, I do want to take some time to discuss insurance. And I can almost hear the pin drop. Insurance is a word that no one likes to confront because we are so afraid of confronting our mortality. But insurance is such a broad spectrum of information, and you could have life as when you were still alive insurance and life insurance that prepares for your beneficiaries and your kids, for example. And why is that important? It's very, very critical. It's critical, particularly, I'm going to go to the Black community for a bit. It's very critical to us because over time, we have tend to leave the world as we came in, which doesn't leave our beneficiaries, which means that our socioeconomic standing tend to stay where it is, or where it's been for hundreds of years. And in order for us to move that needle forward, in order for us to do something a bit better, in order for us to make our generations, those that are coming behind us, better, we have to do some things. And some of those things, one of those things, includes insurance. I am going to ask my very good friend, Carol Smith, to go a bit deep dive into insurance products. Thank you, Carol.
Thanks, Michelle. Yes, life insurance, all insurance, so important because ultimately, I think what a lot of us don't realize is that there are three basic things that we have to plan for in our lives if something were to happen to us tomorrow. And one of them is living too long, as in outliving your resources, dying too soon, and having a sickness or a critical illness. So life insurance being the primary is one of the primary things that's really important. I remember years ago when I was early in the business and I was talking to someone about insurance and how important it was for them to have insurance in case they had a young family, in case something happened, so that they could take care of their family. And they said, oh, this insurance thing is just a scam. It's a scam. And I said, how is it a scam? And they said, well, it's just to get money for the insurance company. I'm just going to save my money. And so I asked the person, I said, so if you save your money and you're saving $100 a month, but you die in the 6th month, what is the $600 going to do for your family? And they stopped and thought about it. And they were like, yes, you have a point there. And I said, yes, that's the reason why life insurance is important. Yes, there are times when you could be sold a Rolls Royce version of a policy by an advisor that maybe not have your best interest at heart. That maybe happens from time to time. But life insurance is very valuable in helping you to plan if something happened to you tomorrow, because whenever you're planning on how much life insurance that you need when you're working with an advisor, it's always what happens if I pass away tomorrow? What happens to my kids? Are they going to have the option to have post-secondary education? It's like you're making sure that your family is taking care of, your spouse can pay off the mortgage, whatever is the goals that you wanted to happen while you were living. You want to make sure that if you pass away, that those goals will still be realized by your family members. And so by getting life insurance in particular, you're making sure you're actually doing an act of love for your family members, and you're leaving the next generation better than we found it, probably. So life insurance is something that is very, very important. And it's kind of like the basis of a financial plan. Like we have a financial planning pyramid, and at the bottom is a plan. And you have to have this plan, which is followed by the life insurance, because without the plan, we always say, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. So it's very important that you have a financial plan in place and that you have an advisor that is looking at your full picture, because everybody has a different situation. Everybody has income needs that may be different if they pass away. Some people may want to pay off debts. Some people may have no debt. Some people may have taxes due because they own other properties other than their house. And so the advisor can help you to plan for those things, which is what we refer to as estate planning. So life insurance covers the needs of families, such as young children, but it also covers estate planning. So there's a huge amount of ground to be covered when talking about life insurance.
And that is exactly true, Carol. And thank you so much for that. Life insurance, whether it is after your death, and I'm just going to let Carol take the lead on that as well, because there are insurance products that are also critical for you when you are alive. As Carol referenced the whole pyramid, where the very basis of that pyramid is that you start planning. I'm a big believer in planning. A lot of times when you put that plan on paper, you get to realize where you are. Sometimes people have a general idea as to where they are. I've got X number of dollars, I can do X, I can do Y. When you put that down on paper and you have an actual plan, sometimes people are pleasantly surprised. And of course, the flip side of the coin, sometimes people are very horrified because you think you know where you are. It's down on paper and all of a sudden, oh no, that's not where I am. Yes, it is. Now, here is the black and white. Here is the proof in the pudding. I want to chat a little bit more with regards to life insurance. And I'll tell you the reason why we're going to deep dive into life insurance. I want to take the stigma away from what a lot of people have when it comes to life insurance. I told a client once, because he said, I don't need that much life insurance. And I told him, I said, well, and he said, I can do it next year. As a matter of fact, that's one of the things he said, I can do it next year. And I said, well, what about if you leave my office and you just walk out the door and you fall down and die? He said, that's not going to happen. I said, I don't know. Do you? And he said, well, no, I don't know. And I said, that's the whole thing about insurance. The word insurance is talking about giving you a bit of a guarantee if something were to happen to you in this moment. What will happen to your family members? What will happen to your kids, your husband? As Carol mentioned, how, can they continue to live the same life, or do we impact their lives so badly that they're left worse off than when you were with them and helping out? And of course, like I mentioned before as well, it's just the overall impact that would have on us as a community. How do we, kind of move the needle forward? Carol, can you talk a little bit with regards to life insurance that is related to when you're alive and you are the beneficiary?
Okay. I just wanted to add something to what you said, Michelle, and that's it's kind of a bit of a funny story, but I remember that coming across clients who don't like to buy life insurance because they think when they buy it, they're going to die. All of a sudden, they buy life insurance and there's a target on their back. And I remember one of my first managers in the business, he told the client, he goes, guess what? He says, yes, he says, when you buy life insurance, he goes, people that don't buy life insurance die too. Everybody dies. But for some reason, people are terrified that once they've got that policy, now they put a target on their back and they're going to drop dead any day now. It's not like that. So, and looking at things like the other types of insurance, so what we call living benefits. So this would be critical illness insurance, disability insurance. And why would you need these things? Well, off the top of my head, rough numbers are that you stand like a 1 in 150 chance of dying prior to age 65, so dying prematurely. You stand a 1 in 8 chance of becoming disabled, but a 1 in 2 chance of getting a critical illness like cancer. So thinking about the need for these other living benefits, when you look at these numbers, you can see, yes, obviously we plan for the thing that you can't come back from. So you definitely have to plan for death because there's no coming back. Once you've gone, you've gone. So life insurance is the first insurance you get because the death is a final thing that happens. But beyond that, when you think about the plans and the dreams that you have, it's all about achieving your goals. But suppose a disability or a sickness comes along in the time that we live in, where so many people are touched by things like cancer, so many people become disabled. And you look at the statistics, and people in their 40s, a lot of women tend to become disabled. So these are things that you may have at work. You may have some of these things built into plans at work. So that's good. You may not necessarily need to go and personally take on that type of debt. But if you're self-employed, if you're an entrepreneur, you have to make sure that you have addressed these issues, because if there's anything that will derail your goals, it's dying too soon, a critical illness. These are things that will derail your goals, but also it's something that is critical that you have this planning in place so that you can strive to achieve your goals, knowing that you've laid the foundation. And life insurance is the foundation. Now, the living benefits, because of that high ratio of the likelihood of you getting one of these things is so much greater than death. It's very important to sit down and look at possibly 3 to 6 months worth of expenses that you may need, monthly expenses that you may need to purchase coverage for as a disability, for example, critical illness, if something happens, so that there can be an infusion of cash into your bank account. So instead of focusing on how stressed out you are because you're sick and then you can't go to work, but there's money that's gone into your bank account so you can focus on healing and getting well and getting back to work.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for that, Carol. I just want to say something. I'm going to put a little bit of a plug here with regards to Carol. Carol's a lady that I really, really quite admire. I'm not selling Carol's product here. I'm letting you know that Carol also makes soap. There's a story behind each of her soap. And it's really, really, we buy it all the time. My son used it in his business as a barber. Again, it's not a plug, it's a statement of fact. It is really phenomenal. And the reason why I'm bringing that up in particular in this instance is just I'm looking at an overarching where Carol is talking about, being an entrepreneur and not having in plan, anything that will keep your business going, even during, say, for example, a pandemic, as we are right now. And one of the things that people don't consider is that if you're not able to work for a while, for example, and we're going to segue back into disability, that you can talk a bit more about, Carol, the disability insurance, for example, as a business owner, if you cannot continue your business, how are you going to pay the expenses? The expenses do not just go away. If your intention is to come back to that business and not let it just flop, those expenses do not go away. They remain part. They're things that are consistently going to be there. They're permanent. They're your rent if you're leasing the place. They're your light bill, your phone bills. How are those things going to be paid? And that's the reason why I wanted to do a little bit of a deep dive. That's part of the reason why. So, Carol, I'm just going to ask you to go a bit more into disability insurance just for our purpose.
Okay. So disability insurance, as we know, is we may not know, but disability insurance is basically income replacement. So disability insurance is going to give you a paycheck, so as to speak, to replace that money that you get monthly. However, it's not going to give you 100% of the income you used to receive. It's usually 2/3 of what you used to receive, because if you got 100% when you were disabled, what is the incentive to even go back to work when you can just get paid, right? So disability insurance does provide that security. And like I said, a lot of people have the short-term and the long-term disability at work. But for people who are entrepreneurs, you may want to look at getting a disability insurance that has a business expense portion that covers your business overheads, things like rent and monthly expenses to run the business. And those types of insurance are available, and they are part of a disability plan. So it is tied to your health, the way that the application process would go through. It would look at your health and your ability to the likelihood of you being ill and so on. So it's called business expense insurance, but it is part of the disability plan. And it is very important for self-employed and entrepreneurial people to actually have a financial needs analysis done that basically takes into consideration the rent, the business overhead expenses, and everything that is relative to the business actually running, so that this business can continue to thrive and survive beyond something like a pandemic where revenues aren't coming in, but the bills just keep coming, right? So it's very, very important.
Absolutely. And we don't want, like I said when we started, we don't want to overwhelm you with too much details. No. We know that we can sometimes, as advisors, we can get into all of the nitty-gritty. I do it, Carol has done it, I'm sure, where we get into too much of the nitty-gritty. But we wanted to make it very, very, out there. We want to put it out there in terms of insurance. I'm starting with insurance, deep diving into that, because I find it to be, no pun intended, critically important. And like I said, wanted to take the stigma out of it, because a lot of people tend to flee in the opposite direction when you hear about insurance. And really and truly, it is not a swear word. It is actually, it should be the foundation and the basis of anyone's financial plan. It's critical to whether it's your estate. I can't say that enough. It's critical to your, for your beneficiaries. You want to leave them a little better off then. So we have kind of belabored that point with regards to insurance. You want to make sure that you do have that information. We'll have some more to say down the road with regards to insurance. But at this point, I want to say there's a couple of things that we're going to talk about, in addition to that down the road, is to how to get you what your planning should be, and what are the things you should be looking to help you with that planning. A financial needs analysis, which is just like your budget, is what is going to form the foundation of any discussion you have, whether you're living in Canada, the US, or whether you're living in Guyana or Jamaica or the UK. It's the same thing. Fundamentally, we have to know how much we're bringing in and what our expenses are and how we can tailor that to meet our long-term goals.
I totally agree, Michelle. So all that you were talking about regarding budgeting and so on, definitely a cash flow analysis of some type needs to take place where people can look at their information on paper and we can somehow work to make sure that we end up with a zero budget, meaning that every dollar is allocated, whether it be savings and expenses. And yeah, I look forward to talking more about this later on because it's a huge subject. But I'm going to turn it back to you so that you can talk about what's happening next month.
Perfect. Thanks, Carol. You know, Carol is UK born to Jamaican parents, and the first time I heard her break it down in Jamaican, I almost died of laughter because here was this very proper English lady, and all of a sudden she just kind of broke some Jamaican down to me, and I thought, okay, well, that's weird.
So, it's Jamaican when we say it. It's not Jamaican, it's Jamaican.
Well, thank you very much, Karen. I really appreciate it. We want to encourage you once more to, if you have questions even about some of the information presented today, I do encourage you to email moneyminutemm@gmail.com, and we'll be able to give you some directions. Next month, we're planning to look at some tools to meet your financial goals. So we're going to deep dive a bit more into those topics next month. We hope that you will join us. Thank you very much, everyone, and we look forward to having this discussion ongoing. Thank you.
Thank you.